So thank you for having me here. My heart is in this part of the world. My family vacationed a dozen times, 24 times in the Northwest here in Canada and in the US, and just to be in Vancouver is a delight. I wish I had more time to spend with you as friends and to enjoy this amazing part of the world. I will be back soon, and I hope, and often. I want to say a special word of thanks to Kurt Smetcher, who's been a tremendous host and colleague. And Kurt, you've just been so gracious in helping arrange my visit. Thank you very much. So look, it's a tough time in healthcare around the world. Any country you could visit today is trying to cope with a series of challenges that we share as on the planet. The challenges of non-communicable diseases in the system set up for acute care, the challenges of mental health burden, the challenges of controlling expenditures and costs in healthcare so we can use money for other purposes. It's a tough time, and it's been reflected in many countries, and I assume in BC, in the spirit and energy and optimism of the people that give the care, and to some extent those that receive it. I don't want to spend time on the negative side, but it's tough. And the message that I want to bring you is we can absolutely succeed. I have no question at all that the healthcare of the future can be birthed, and I think it's most likely to appear in communities like this. As I was saying at breakfast with some of your leaders, BC is the right size, it's got the right history, it's got the right ethos, tremendous possibility here, not just for solving problems that I know you face, but for becoming an example globally. I see Pat Rutherford nodding because she said the same thing to me when I walked in the room. How do we get here? I want to help you understand how we got into the fix we're in, because it involves some changing in thinking, and you'll see that in a minute. I'm not a sociologist, but I'm going to pretend I am one for about 10 minutes. I'm going to explain why we got into trouble. And I'll start with a story. My father was a doctor in a very small town in Connecticut, Moodus, Connecticut, where I grew up. And he was, for most of my life, my young life, the only doctor in town. And he did everything. Dad, he delivered babies. He went to the hospital every day. He rounded in the hospital 17 miles away. He did fluoroscopy in his own office, minor surgery, assisted surgery. He did everything, and he was revered. No one messed with Dr. Berwick in town. He was a terrible driver. He never saw a speed limit that he didn't break, I'll tell you. It was scary, but he never got a ticket. The constable would never give Dr. Berwick a ticket. Dr. Berwick delivered the constable. He was nobility, and he worked really hard. I mean, Dad, I only remember 2 vacations in my entire childhood. He just worked day and night, every night in the car, going down to the bridge because it was a car accident, or visiting, Mr. Barron, who's having chest pain. One day, my dad, the phone rang. I realize in most audiences that word has no meaning at all. There used to be a device that hung on the wall. You picked it up and held it near your ear. It didn't fit in your pocket. We were at dinner. I was 10 years old. I know exactly how old I was because we just moved into our new house. And the phone rang, and my dad picked up the phone. We never had a meal that wasn't interrupted by a phone call. And he suddenly scowled, and then he yelled into the phone, "I'm the doctor. You'll get penicillin when I say you'll get penicillin." And he slammed the phone down. It shattered. The phone shattered. "I'm the doctor. You'll get penicillin when I say you get penicillin." Now, my father was part of a tradition, a history that actually goes back a long way. I'd argue to Hippocrates. This tradition was analyzed by a real sociologist in the 1970s named Elliot Friedson in New York. I think he was at Columbia or NYU. Friedson wrote a book called Profession of Medicine. It's not a bad read even today. And he tried to understand what the nature of profession was, and he chose medicine as the example. And in his key sentence in his book, Friedson says, "A profession is a work group that reserves to itself the right to judge its own quality." The profession is a work group that reserves to itself the right to judge its own quality. That's dad. It's also weird because, like, I stayed at this hotel last night. This hotel does not get to judge its own quality. I do. I'm the customer. When you have dinner tonight at a restaurant, you don't get to, the restaurant doesn't tell you how good the food is. You say how good the food is. When you drive home, you say how good the car is. What the heck's going on here? How does any work group acquire the right to judge the quality of its own work? Very unusual. And Friedson said it's because there's a deal. And I call this deal Era 1, and it's millennia old. The deal says, well, Dr. Berwick is noble. He's there to serve the public, and he will put his interests behind the interests of the people he serves. He also has specialized knowledge with which to exercise it. He went to medical school. He learns Greek and Latin words. You can't know it. He knows it. And he's beneficent. So his kindness, his ability to put his own interests last is part of the deal. When I was trained as a doctor, I was trained, never lay your trip on the patient. You're not there to get your needs met. You're there to help the patient. And by the way, when things go wrong, and sometimes they could go wrong, he'll self-regulate. The profession will clean its own house. This was the social contract that Friedson said explains that really weird deal. You get to judge your own quality, Dr. Berwick. And he absorbed it. You got penicillin when I say you got penicillin. This is how I was trained too. If I had time, I could tell you story after story about how I was told it's on you, Dr. Berwick, young Dr. Berwick. It's your patient. You bear the burden, your duty, over and over again in my training. Era 1. It's founded on trust, on a sense that a prerogative. I get to make the decision as the professional that I'm a scientist. I'll engage in inquiry. I'll take care of the emerging young doctors. I'll train them the same way as I was trained, and we'll help you. And that was the deal. And you don't get a ticket, even if you drive fast. Unfortunately, the deal got sideways. And it happened because of science. The science in particular, actually, I'm having a little trouble with this clicker. I may ask you to change slides. The science, it actually began in the 60s and 70s, 50s. And it was centered, a lot of it is in Canada. Bob Evans did a lot of the work that's relevant here. So did David Sackett and his group at McMaster. What these people did was they subjected the care to analysis. The sciences were not sciences of the human body, they were sciences of the delivery of care. And to make a decade-long story short, what they found was we weren't doing very well, not compared to the theoretic potential. Now, there were many decades of research and great scholars, courageous people, because Dr. Berwick would not have welcomed Jack Wenberg showing up and saying variation is nonsense. We have 400%, 500% variation in surgical rates, depending on your postal code. They would not have welcomed the work of Lucian Leap and others who said, you know, we're hurting lots and lots of people in healthcare. They're being damaged by the care. This all came to a head in my country, in the United States, in 1999, and then again in 2001 in the National Academies of Medicine, IOM at the time, Institute of Medicine, in two reports. To Err is Human in 1999, which basically cataloged the damage we were doing, the injuries to patients. They were being hurt not by their diseases, but by the care at phenomenal rates. 44,000 to 98,000 deaths a year in American hospitals due to errors in care. Not diseases, errors in care. That made defects in safety, I was about the number 4 public health problem, more than breast cancer, more than motor vehicle accidents, more than AIDS deaths. The key report followed 2 years later, Crossing the Quality Chasm, which has become a kind of canonical text in my country. It chartered a lot of the work that goes on, and it says, when you study the science, we have defects, pervasive defects in safety, injuries to people, but that's not it. Defects in effectiveness, we're not aligning care with science. There's a postal code lottery with respect to whether you get surgery or not, or what drugs you get. Patient-centeredness is listen to our patient partners. Listen to Edwina's words before about what the relationship that is wanted and not present. Timeliness, which in Britain and now in BC is maybe number one in some ways. The delays that are just unwanted in a system, delays you would not tolerate in any other part of your life as a consumer. Efficiency, waste, costs are just soaring, and equity. Racial, socioeconomic, First Nations differences in health status. This was a wake-up call based on decades of research that said, dear Dr. Berwick, trust you, you're noble, you'll put your interests behind ours, 44,000 deaths and you didn't tell us, you'll self-regulate, and we're seeing this kind of damage. And on top of it, in America, in the United States especially, was, could I have the next slide, please? Cost. This is a little bit less the case in Canada, a lot less the case in Canada, but we were now we're at 17% of the gross domestic product, and in my country, we're not getting value for money. The amount of money we're spending is not producing anything like the longest life expectancy. We're like 40th in life expectancy and infant mortality rates in a country spending almost double what Canada is. So society kind of says, deals off. Era one, trust me, didn't work. We need a different social relationship, and that led to what I call era two, and that's a different ethos. That's the era of accountability, scrutiny, pay for performance, measurement, transparency, incentives, and a lot of doubt. So so you walk into Dr. Berwick's office, you say, Dr. Berwick, deal's off. Right now, we'll pay you to do well, and we'll punish you if you don't do well. We'll watch you and publish your results. We'll put you under all forms of scrutiny. By the way, in my father's office, you would not have gotten to the third sentence. If he didn't kill you, he would have at least thrown you out. He would say, I'm the doctor. Look, I know Greek and Latin. I haven't taken a vacation in 3 years. I put, every meal is interrupted by your phone calls. What are you talking about? You don't know what I know. This era of scrutiny and accountability comes headlong into conflict with era one. And that's where we are. In most countries around the world, not just US, not just Canada, there's this great misunderstanding that devolves perfectly logically from the history. We thought we had a deal, but we don't, so we're going to watch you. I'm the doctor. I'll decide. Nobody's actually wrong here. It's all right, but it won't work. We end up in a noble shared enterprise mired in conflict and misunderstanding. And yet, we have problems to solve. The Institute of Medicine lists safe, effective, patient-centered, timely, efficient, equitable. That was trumped by my colleagues, John Whittington and Tom Nolan in 2006, who invented the concept triple aim. And I remember the day they showed up and they said, Don, it's not enough. The better care piece, safe, effective, patient-centered, timely, efficient, equitable. If you have a heart attack, we promise you that. If you break your arm, we promise you that. If you're depressed, we promise you that. But why did you have a heart attack? Why did you break your arm? Why are you depressed? And that has to do with the sciences of cause. And what we know, in fact, in Canada, you pioneered, I was mentioning at breakfast, the Lalonde Report, which kind of opened everybody's eyes to the sources of wellness. That was a fundamental international contribution. The seeking of health is not the seeking of care. Care is a repair shop. And Whittington Nolan said, let's go to causes, which lie in social structures and nutrition and schools and housing and justice. It's no accident in my country with the vicious politics that we now are suffering under that mortality rates are rising, that we're actually seeing the health consequences because care doesn't produce health. Justice produces health. And so there's a second goal, population health, and the third is don't waste the money. You're not entitled to it. We need that money for the schools and the roads. Our corporations need the money to build a new plant. Our laborers need the money to send their kids to college and go to the movies tonight. So you are not entitled to the money. Quality includes saving money through reduction of waste, and that's the triple aim. Better care, better health, and lower cost altogether. Now, that's not a trick. That's not coming from era one, era two conflict. That's the facts. The question is, how do we get out of it? How do we become optimists? How do we achieve the triple aim? Now, the way I've explained this in speeches for the past couple of years is with some photos I got from my friend Scott Weingarten. This is a bridge in Honduras. It crosses the Choluteca River. It's called the Choluteca River Bridge. It was built in 1938. It's a great bridge. It was built by the American Bridge Company, the same people that built the Bronx Whitestone Bridge. It's a strong bridge, which is really important in Honduras because Honduras has terrible weather. And the bridge got tested, as all bridges are in Honduras, over and over again. And in 1998, it got tested the worst by a terrible hurricane called Hurricane Mitch. It killed hundreds of people in Honduras. This is part of the capital city, Tegucigalpa, destroyed. Hundreds of bridges fell, not the Choluteca River Bridge. It stood. It survived. It was designed for strength. The problem was the river moved. So this is American healthcare. It's strong, great bridge, the bridge of technocracy, and the need elsewhere, the needs that Pauline was talking about, the needs to deal with our spirits and our chronic illness and mental health issues and healthy and well-being in societies. This photo's wrong. I keep on wanting to Photoshop it. I should still have a river under the bridge because the technocratic river, we still have that one. Like if you have leukemia, let's cure it. If you need a heart transplant, get the heart transplant. We need that technocracy. But the way to health, the way to the triple aim doesn't lie there, not solely there. There's another river to cross. And the question is, how do you build that bridge? And the answer is not the heroism of Era 1. Dr. Berwick cannot do it. As hard as he tries, he can't do it. How could an individual recreate a system? And Era 2 can't do it. How can you ever inspect your way to the new bridge? That's dumb. We don't have a selection problem, we have a creation problem. And neither Era 1 nor Era 2 can get us there, and surely the combat between the two can't. We need a different way to think. I call it Era 3. In my country, I'm not sure we can do this. We're not a community, really. You can. And I'm going to show you what it looks like and how to get there. Some theory would help. I'm going to use the theory of Dr. Joseph Juran, one of the great thinkers of the last century, who wrote many books and had many great ideas. But one of them we call the Juran trilogy. That's what the wonks in the field call it. Juran said, look, if you want to improve something like your golf game or your marriage or your souffle or your health care, you've got to do three things. And that's what the total management of improvement looks like. He called them quality control, quality improvement, and he called it quality planning. I would call it innovation maybe, but it's the complete set of tasks. Task one is control. The way to think about this is driving a car and having a flat tire. If the tire goes flat on the car, you better stop the car and you better fix the tire. Fixing a flat, quality control. Get things back into order. Of course, most of the time, tires aren't flat. So that's an occasional enterprise. Most of the time, you want to be focusing on what he called improvement. And if you want to understand what improvement needs, just meet my grandson, Nathaniel, 9 years old. He is a baseball fanatic. He is crazy. He will be out in the field, in the snow, he'll be out with a bat and ball. He can't stop getting better at baseball. What does he do? He says, Papa, come out and throw me some pitches. He throws the pitches, he swings the bat, he adjusts his feet, he changes his stance, he watches great hitters on the TV, he talks to his friends, he plays in little leagues. He's a learning machine. Try it and learn, try it and learn, try it and learn. It's embedded in him. That's quality improvement. It's the continual trial of new stuff in the service of getting better as an avid learner. The quality improvement is exactly equivalent to learning through change. If he keeps swinging the bat the same way, Nathaniel knows it's not going to work. He better adjust his grip. He better have a good idea about a new grip. But that's what Juran meant by quality improvement. He meant Nathaniel. Quality planning, I tend to misinterpret as from his point of view, but it's innovation. It's like an airplane's not a better car, When the Wright brothers made an airplane, they weren't improving a car or a bicycle. They were coming up with something completely different. When we went from open to laparoscopic surgery, laparoscopic surgery is not better open surgery, it's different surgery. And so the complete set includes time reserved for doing things completely new. Quality control, quality planning, and quality improvement. That's what the set looks like. Now, Duran's model says it should look about like this. In the BC, the distribution of activity should be some control, fix flat tires. There's an alcoholic surgeon, help her, but don't let her do surgery. Quality improvement is everybody learn. Everybody's Nathaniel all the time. And then the planning is the time we put into new inventions. The problem is when era 1 and era 2 meet, this is what it feels like. It's all about control. All the fighting is about scrutiny and incentive and why aren't you doing the job right and who's screwing up. And if you doubt it, go read an issue of Health Services Journal or the front page of The Guardian in England, or go study the activities as if the whole job is to find the flat tires. It's terrible dynamics. It wastes a ton of money. It produces enormous amounts of gaming, and the workforce hates it. Because they're trying hard. They're my father in his office trying hard. Not succeeding, but trying really hard. This won't work. It won't work for the triple aim. It clearly won't work for what people now call the quadruple aim, which is, hey, wait a minute. If we beat up on each other, if this is the ethos, if we feel like going to work is just another day of failure or combat, we lose spirit, which we heard about in that lovely opening from Pauline. You can't do that. You can't achieve the triple aim with a dispirited workforce. How could you ever achieve healing with an unhealed workforce? And so people say there's a fourth component here, joy in work. We could have Talmudic debates about whether it's actually a quadruple aim or whether it's a precondition, I don't know. But better care, better health, lower cost, and joy, not a bad set of goals. Not a bad vector of goals for a health board. Now, how do we get there? Not heroism, professional heroism, not accountability and scrutiny and incentive, it won't work. It's something new. The new thing is design. It's understanding that the system is performing at its current level. We say at IHI, every system is perfectly designed to achieve exactly the results it gets. You'll find that tattooed on everybody at IHI. Every system is perfectly designed to achieve exactly the results it gets. My car has a top speed. Maybe it's 103 miles an hour. I don't know. It's an old car. I could find out. I'm sure my kids know. But the concept that you could yell at your car to do better and it would do better is dumb. You know that. You need a different car. Change the fuel injection. Do something. Make a change. But don't exhort the system to do something the system cannot do. So that's design thinking, systems thinking. What is the new system? What system could achieve the triple aim, quadruple aim? What system could build and be that new bridge? At IHI, we have an organization called the Leadership Alliance. About 40 organizations are in it now. It's like a club. And I'm, by the way, urging BC or elements of BC, please join the Leadership Alliance. And what they begin with is design. They're thinking about what does the new system look like that allows us to achieve the triple aim, care better than we've ever seen, health better than we've ever known, at a cost we can afford for everybody. Now what they've done is come up with 10 design principles, which are a pretty good set of coat racks for thinking about the designs. You already heard some of them this morning because that was embedded in Edwina's comments, but let me walk you quickly through it. One is change the balance of power. Healthcare isn't something like a toaster. You make it and deliver it to a customer. It's co-made, and the power belongs with the patient and the family. Once you shift that, good things happen. I'll show you. Standardize what makes sense. We make our work continually harder by having variation that makes no sense at all. There are certain things that should be done the same way every time, just because it's good sense to do it that way. It's not a control issue, it's a science issue. So willingness to standardize, and we have many examples where that succeeds brilliantly. Maybe Fred Reichman will tell you some when he talks about flow. It doesn't make sense if you have 8 orthopedic surgeons to have 8 different tray setups. Have one. It'll make things easier for everybody. Everybody changes a little, but you get down to a single stable system. On the other hand, customized to every individual. You heard it from Edwina, what matters to you? And there's a favorable dynamic here. When you standardize, you liberate energy to then customize to every individual. Then you have the energy to say what matters to you, Don. Promote well-being, move upstream. Let's get to causes, which are not the absence of care. It's the absence of justice and housing and transport and caring in communities, resilience. Create joy in work. Let's work scientifically on what it is. What are the circumstances of work that actually allow people to thrive in the workplace? And we know a ton about that. Make it easy, take away barriers. We had a great example I was sharing this morning of in the Leadership Alliance. 24 of the 40 organizations 2 years ago had Breaking the Rules Week. They went to their staffs, their patients and families and said, what are dumb rules here? What rules stand in the way of care? They had 360 rules nominated in 1 week. And then the rule was break them. And they were really dumb rules. And they were not, by the way, statutes or regulations. Most of the rules were internal to the organizations or habits or myths. Make it easy. Move knowledge, not people. Modernize our world, especially in a geography like BC. Why keep moving people when we now can move knowledge electronically? I'll show you that. Collaborate and cooperate. Any division you've created in BC between doctors and health boards, or between nurses and doctors, or between specialists and primary care, serve you ill. Tear down the walls. Tear down the walls. The walls look like they help you. They don't help you. They hurt you. Assume abundance. Probably have enough to work with. You don't need a lot more. Certainly we don't in my country. And then return the money. Let's give money back to the publics and to governments and to laborers to do other things they want with. We know what these designs look like because these are not like airy principles. They're actually based on real experiences. Today, you're going to hear from Pat Rutherford and Fred Reichman about flow, about how to design for smoothness, which is the answer for you with respect to your long surgical waiting times, by the way. But it's redesign. Let me show you some examples of redesign. The best I know is actually in Anchorage, Alaska. It's the NUCA system, owned and operated by Alaska Natives in the Anchorage Bowl. I worked there. 60,000 people kind of own their own health care. And they set up this system of integrated, team-based, community-centered care. This is changing the balance of power absolutely fundamentally. Fundamental redesign. They have 10 principles also, which I don't have time to go over with you, but I will tell you that they're phenomenally valuable principles. One of them is endless teamwork. This is the doctor's office at NUCA. There is a doctor in that picture, but they're not alone. She is with a nutritionist and a behaviorist and a social worker and a pharmacist and an advanced practice nurse. All the care at NUCA is team-based care, one of the design principles. The result of this fundamental redesign, primary care redesign, look at it, 50%, this is in a 5-year period, 2004 to 2009, a 50% decline in ED use, 53% decline in hospital use, 65% decline in specialty referrals, and satisfaction and quality levels that are enviable. This is the triple aim in action. Move knowledge, not people. This is a wonderful project called the ECHO project. That's the guy in the tie at the end of the table. It's Dr. Sanjeev Arora. Arora is a hepatologist who got frustrated because he could only take care of 2% of the hepatitis C patients in New Mexico. He's an expert on hepatitis C. So he set up this telemedicine environment, which is constantly in operation, not just for hepatitis C now. It's HIV/AIDS and teen suicide and obesity and advanced asthma and frail elders. I've been in this studio, and all day long they're connecting to the primary care systems, most without doctors. They're most nurse practitioner or community health worker led all over New Mexico, with phenomenal results. Aurora published this in the New England Journal a number of years ago, viral eradication levels through telemedicine that are not achieved by the patients who come to Albuquerque. Move knowledge, not people. This is the same thing for ophthalmologic care. It's a wonderful project at St. Mary's Hospital in London, in Paddington. It's telemedicine, providing advanced ophthalmologic care through cell phone-based technology. This is a guy's retina being scanned in, I think, Bangladesh, or Pakistan, and being read at St. Mary's. And by the way, the fidelity of the retinal image and the cell phone technology exceeds the fidelity of the retinal image on the retinoscope at St. Mary's. This is 10,000 kids screened in 1 week by teachers, not ophthalmologists, through the use of the PEAK technology in Kenya. Changing the balance of power. This is Dr. Kavita Patel at Bhavan, at St. Mary, at UT Southwestern Medical Center, Parkland Hospital, where she is pushing the envelope on home-based IV care. When I was trained, we kept the patient in the hospital if they needed 6 weeks of antibiosis. And then we began having nurse-administered care at home. Kavita's program, the patients do their own self-administered antibiosis. In 4 years, they treated thousands of patients, including homeless people. Parkland's a safety net system, saved almost 30,000 hospital days and $40 million by people giving themselves their own home antibiosis. Change the balance of power, and you get totally new designs that are feasible. This is Zach Wohl. Zach looks pretty healthy here, but he hasn't always been healthy. Zach has chronic bowel disease. He's cared for at Cincinnati Children's Hospital, and he needs overnight nutrition through an NG tube. And it saves his life. Zach is a healthy, robust kid now. He's probably 12 now. When he was 9, he learned how to do his own NG tube insertion. Fine with them at Cincinnati. He then thought, gee, other kids have this problem. Maybe I'll teach them how. So he made a video. Let me show you Zach's video.
Well, I have Crohn's disease, but I've upgraded my tube feed so that I can actually do it myself every single night now. And, well, I want to show you. Step 1, dip your tube in a lot of goop. You have to get a lot of goop on the tube. Hold the tube near your nose so you get the smell of it, and then you'll get relaxed and you just put it down. For me, I have to go to the second black dot. So now we tape it to my face, which is step 5, I think, or 4. I'm not really keeping track anymore, but it doesn't matter. Step something. And then you put the stethoscope to your chest while someone is listening. I can do this myself, Dad. I'll just wear it. I can wear it. Or you can. And I even heard that. You might
Loud
have
and
heard
clear.
that. And you might burp after this.
All right. Good job.
I can do it myself, Dad. I mean, you hear this empowerment, and he's doing it better than probably any health professional could do it. Zach understands changing the balance of power, and he wants to transfer it. He wants to train other kids. That's why he made a YouTube video. Amazing. This is Christian Farman. If you've been in any IHI meetings in the past decade, you've met Christian or heard us talk about him, but it's a story worth retelling. Christian lives in Jönköping, Sweden, which is one of our great partners, and he got kidney failure in 2004, and he needed hemodialysis. So Christian went into the tertiary hospital and got hooked up to the hemodialysis machine and went in every, 3 times a week for his hemodialysis until one day he says, I want to do it myself, like Zach. He said, I can give myself my own dialysis. He said to his nurse, Britt Marie Bonk, you have coffee, I'll do the dialysis. And for complicated reasons, because it's a learning organization, they said yes. And Christian did his own hemodialysis. And then he started teaching other patients to do it. And the results were phenomenal. Half of the patients in Rehove now, I think it's over half now, do self-dialysis. I've been to the self-dialysis unit. This is it. That's Britt Marie Bonk, the nurse that said yes in green there. That's Patrick Blomqvist, who's another patient with chronic renal failure who does his own dialysis, but he's also co-director of the unit. And then the CEO said yes to it all, is to Patrick's right. The results have been a dramatic decline in complications, a 50% decline. Costs have gone down 50%. Patients feel much more self-efficacy. Sorry, can I just back up one? So we talk about this all the time, and people keep saying, well, that's Sweden, Don. They can do it. They're blonde, they're tall, they're socialist. It'll never work here. Until Christian Farman met Rich Gibney. Rich is a doctor in Waco, Texas. And this is Rich. He's runs a dialysis system in Waco. And this is Rich telling his story.
We brought Christian Farman, the patient, who in Sweden was the first person to do self-care or empowered dialysis. And in the head nurse, Britt Marie, to Waco, Texas. And the first thing they said was, would you be willing to turn the machines to face the patient and allow them to touch the machine? It's been hunker down for 40 years that I've been doing it. It was come in, sit down, be quiet, don't touch anything. So you can imagine, basically they're helpless, they're learning how to be more helpless, they're bored, they're depressed, and we kind of missed that whole point and thought that was a good way to do it. Until we saw empowered or self-care dialysis. We call it empowered because that's what happens, is that you say to the patient, you can do the hunker down, or you can do empowered, which is control, freedom, independence. That's what you get. And with that, you get the benefit of optimism, joy, and hope. And all the patients immediately say, sure, that would be dynamite, that'd be great. And yeah, the data, basically it was stunning. I mean, it was kind of beyond belief that the hospitalization rate fell to be 1/2 the hospitalization rate that had been before, because patients were involved, engaging in their treatment. And then finally, the mortality rate dropped 1/3. The staff, again, they have to make a radical change. They're going from being worker bees, where they run around the clinic doing everything, to becoming teachers, coaches, trainers, cheerleaders, and it's a profound experience.
Rich Gibney sends me an email about once a month with updated data. It only gets better. It only gets better. Using abundance, changing the balance of power, thinking about customization, all of this works, even in Waco, Texas. The triple aim, of course, is beyond better care, which is the examples I've been showing you. What about better health? Well, the same applies there. Make redesigns, things happen. We have a tremendous, tremendous scientific basis for redesign for better health. These are just 3 heroes of mine. There's the Black Report, the famous report on the health divide in England. That's Julian Tudor Hart at the bottom there, who just died, a Welsh GP who's written about mobilization and empowerment in communities and what it can do for hypertension and chronic disease and wellness. And then really king of the mountain right now is Sir Michael Marmot. His book, The Health Gap, I think should be mandatory. It's the most important book I've read in a decade. It should be mandatory reading about actually how you can make a difference on health, and it isn't through healthcare. Healthcare we need. Let's get those treatments right. But if you really want to restore health, you need to use the science. The science is, just lost my image here. The science is pretty dramatic. This is a subway map, which is a conventional way to look at health disparities. This is the City of London, and you're seeing between Tottenham Court Road and East London a 20-year gap in life expectancy. And whether it's Glasgow or London or New York, or I assume Vancouver, you can find this destiny in terms of life expectancy being controlled by the circumstances in which people are born and live. But we know what to do about it. Read Michael Marmot's book, you'll find a framework for addressing this, but someone's got to call the question and have the framework work. It can happen. One of the great stories of IHI's recent experience has been with St. Ninian's School in Stirling, Scotland, where the head teacher, Elaine Wiley, discovered that the kids were fat. She could see it, but they measured it. 45% of the children in this primary school were overweight or obese when she started, and she didn't like it. And she began mobilizing this. She worked with the National Health Service in Scotland, which can deliver quality improvement techniques, just like Kurt can. And they used improvement methods at the school and ended up inventing the Daily Mile. The Daily Mile is really simple, and when it was finally built, every kid and every teacher at St. Ninian's School runs a mile a day. And I visited with Elaine many times. They run 15 minutes. Some kids can run a mile at a time, others can't. It's 15 minutes. Comes right out of the school day. Every subject gives up some time through the week. Within about 18 months, I think it says 3 years here, there was not a single obese kid in the lower primary grades. They eliminated obesity in the younger children. I mean, that's unheard of. as a pediatrician. This is being studied more formally now by the University of Edinburgh and Stirling University. We'll see soon if it stands up to scrutiny, but I think it will. But it's spread already. The nation of the Netherlands has made the Daily Mile policy. 760 primary schools, I believe, in the Netherlands now use it. It's been adopted formally now in Scotland. I visited Morecambe Bay, England, which is a deprived community in northwest England. About 400,000 people live in that part of Lancashire. And there, I visited the Westgate Primary School and met Andy Knox. Andy is a GP, heard about the Daily Mile, said, I'll bet that can help here. His health board gave him 2 days a week to work on it. These are kids from the Westgate School who are actually my hosts. They walked me around the school, explained their curriculum, and then showed me the Daily Mile, which they are totally thrilled with. This is their solution. They run in the rain, but if it's really raining, they don't run. They've invented something. They go into a classroom, put on a Justin Bieber video, and dance for 15 minutes. That's their invention. The kids were amazing. They brought me to a whiteboard where they had written their comments on the Daily Mile, which they keep up these comments. It sounded like they were like shills for the Centers for Disease Control. Like, non-sporty children can do it too. It's great for the teachers. It's brilliant because I can push myself. It makes my brain healthier. The kids, those little kids, they described sleep patterns and camaraderie and focus as a consequence of their fitness. It can be done. The triple aim is within our reach. The answer for you, I think, is clear. It's together. It's together. The history and legacies of Era 1, I'm the doctor, I'll do it, or I've got the right to judge my own quality. The legacy of Era 2, which is we'll hold your feet to the fire, we're going to change the incentive program, you will now do the right thing because we pay you or because we measure you or embarrass you. Those legacies are very much in our way. They create a sense of differentness, otherness, that gets reflected in your vocabularies and your patterns and your structures. And there's no root, none, between that and the triple aim. The root is solidarity. That's a word not often used in my country, but it is in yours. And I think if BC can rediscover, reinvigorate that sense that you're in it together, get rid of we, they thinking and get back to the focus on the people, we will co-create care with. You could build a new bridge. I'm absolutely sure of it. And we'll watch, and then based on your example, maybe we will learn. Thank you very much.